So now let us try to relay the same. So while mapping the coding. So the first step, so I'm just opening the feature file. So we are going to map the code for the first given step. So the given states, so user navigate to Salesforce application. So how we are going to map the code in the sense, so just to do the control click, it will be navigate to the particular method. So now inside the method, we are going to do the browser, we are going to map the code for the browser invocation. So how we are going to do the browser invocation? So with the help of the WebDriver. So I'm just giving the WebDriver and I'm giving the variable name as a driver is equal to, so as we can't create an object for an interface, so we are creating the object for the respective driver class. So I have created the object for the Chrome driver class. Whenever there is an error, hover a mouse over it and just click on the import statement. And next is like, so we need to launch the URL because the given statement states that we need to navigate to the Salesforce application. So how we can navigate in the sense with the help of the get method. So I can say like driver dot okay get. So this get is a parameterized method and we are passing the appropriate URL. So just I'm opening the Salesforce and I'm just passing the respective URL. So now the given statement is done. So what is the next step? So we need to enter the username and password. So I'm just navigating to the when statement. And how we are going to do the automation? So the automation is purely done with the help of the driver. So the variable name of the driver, we call the variable of WebDriver is driver. When I say driver dot or when I use this variable name called as a driver, it is throwing the error. So the reason is like we have initialized the driver variable inside a method. But when something is initialized inside the method, it will act as a local variable. So now, so this particular thing will act as a local variable and the local variable can be accessed only inside the method. So like in the day one of the class, so whenever we try to automate, this is the sample coding we have written. So we have written everything inside the single method. So that is the reason like we are able to reuse the driver. But here, like we are having multiple methods. So which means like we should initialize this WebDriver in as a global variable. So what I'm going to do, so instead of initializing as the local variable, I'm making the WebDriver as a global variable. I'm not assigning any values. So instead of it, like I'm just assigning the value of Chrome driver in the line number 17. Okay, so just we have initialized the WebDriver and post that we are assigning the knowledge of Chrome driver to this particular variable called as a driver. So now this driver variable will act as a global variable. So the global variable can be accessed across multiple methods. So now if I just go and type the coding called as a driver dot, I will get all the option. So the reason is like the driver, the web driver is initialized as the global variable and not as a local variable. So now we can do the quick automation. Like I can use the driver dot find element and like how I can just right click and inspect and whatever the thing which is available, so you can choose any of the locator property of your choice. So like if you are planning to use an id, yes, go ahead and use an id. So I can say driver dot find element by dot id. So we need to specify the id and then we are going to inject the send keys. With the help of the send keys we are going to inject the input, but we are passing the input from the feature file. So this feature file has the input called as a learn more and the password called as an 123 and we are going to pass the input. So because we have already parameterized this method, so which means whatever the input we have initialized, we have parameters in the feature file, the same will be passed to the variable called as an username and the password. So always I told the variable holds the value, so I can just pass the particular variable name called as a username. So which is nothing but we are directly injecting the data provided in the feature file. because like we are passing the same input which is parameterized in the feature file. So now the input called as a learn more will be get passed. So now we need to enter the password. That is the next step, right? So now I can just say driver dot find element. So by dot I can choose any of the locator property. So I'm just right clicking and inspecting the password. So let us try to write an edge path. So you can choose any of the locator property. Let's say I'm going to use the type called as a password. So what is the syntax of the edge path? So double slash, so the tag name, so the tag name is like kind of an input, and we need to choose an attribute. We are using the type attribute is equal to, in a single quotes I'm providing a password. So if the syntax is correct, it will show one of one result, and it will highlight the result in the DOM structure. If I hover the mouse over the DOM structure, it will be highlighting the same field in the UI as well. So just I'm copying the password. See, I'm just copying the regular expression and I'm using the XPath and I'm pausing the XPath sentence. Pause that, like we are going to inject the input. The input will be passed through the send keys. So now the password is stored in the variable called as a password. So I'm just pausing the variable name. Okay. So now what happened? So this particular when statement is common for two steps. So which is nothing but it is common for this particular line number 6 as well as line number 13. So while executing the line number 6, it will pass the input as learn more and 1 2 3. So while passing the line number, while executing the line number 13, it will pass the input as apple and ABC. So which means like we are reusing the same line of code by passing the different input. So now let's say like we need to click on the login button. So I'm just navigating to the feature file and just doing the control click. So here I'm just mapping the code for clicking the login button. So driver dot find element. So I can choose any of the locator property. Let's say I'm right clicking and inspecting this login button. So I can choose any of the locator property. So let me just re-inspect it up. So this is the particular node. So we are having the ID. So now let me try to use the ID in my coding. Okay, so by dot ID, and what is the operation we are going to perform here? We are going to perform the click operation. So I can do the click operation, and finally we are going to do the validation of the error message. So we have already written the logic for validation in the sense validation, right? So I'm just copy pasting the same. So what we have written, so with the help of the conditions, so we have, this is the thing we have written, right? I'm just copy pasting that thing and I'm pasting the same inside that validation method. Okay, so here I'm just pasting it up. So now we are going to do the automation in a structured way, and we are not going to follow this approach. So this we call it as an TDD approach. So this is what the other framework like TestNG or JUnit follows. But when it comes to an BDD, so like it follows the behavior driven approach, which is nothing but we will be creating the test design and we are mapping the code at the back end. So even the technical as well as the non-technical person can understand. So when we code in a BDD way, so as moving forward, we don't need this automation basic. So we are going to do the coding only in the structured way, which is nothing but inside the Cucumber BDD framework. I'm just deleting this like Cucumber basics. Okay, so now we have done all the mapping of the coding. So we can just re-verify so whether all the mapping is done. Now we need to start the execution. So we need to run this particular scenario, right? So we are having the tag called as an SC01. I'm just copying the tag, and how we are going to do the execution in the sense. So we are going to the runner class. Okay, and inside the runner, I'm just pasting the respective tag, and then I'm right clicking and running the runner file. So now whatever the mapping we have done, so it should execute the step by step process, whatever the step which is there in the feature file. So in the same order, so it will be executing it up. So like it is the runner is initialized, it is opening the feature file, and under which like it is picked the scenario called as an error message validation. So now it is invoking the browser, and post invocation like it should navigate to the appropriate URL, and then you should enter the respective username and the password. So the username and password should be injected from the feature file. Okay, because like in the feature file, like we have hard coded the, like we have parameterized the input, and then like it is passing the username and the password, and then it is verifying the error message. So now you could see the particular scenario is passed. Okay. Okay, this is how like we will be doing the automation in the real time. So you won't code everything in a single class file. So rather than like we will be doing the test design, and post completion of the test design with the help of the annotation. So like in the step definition file we will be mapping each and every statement, and while mapping we will be creating the immediate method below it, and under each and every method, so we will be mapping the relevant automation coding, and post that like in order to execute, like we will be using the runner file. Okay, so we are running the program with the help of at run with annotation, and we are having the annotation called at cucumber option, where we have mapped the path of the feature file and path of the step definition file, and we are specifying the tag. So which means like which scenario we need to be execute.